Buenos días. Good morning, everyone. I am Elsa Sanchez. I am from Mexico City, and I'm going to be talking about the role of symbolism in facilitating communication. A highly admired quality in another person is their ability of effective communication. It may seem trivial to mention this, as we often believe we know how to communicate, but the reality is that we frequently fail to convey what we truly intend to say. It is evident that the lack of this quality causes suffering and poor outcomes in interpersonal relationships. For instance, the poor, non-existent, or inadequate communication between generations exemplifies this issue. This is why scientist and author Alfred Korzybski advocated for the clear and precise use of language to avoid misunderstandings and confusion. This inquiry aims to demonstrate how cultural context affects symbolism, viewed as a constitutive element of reality, and consequently influences communication among individuals. The range of ideological currents to which humans are exposed affects communication and triggers dialogical issues among people. An example is the doctrines related to individualistic currents and hyper-performance. In the socio-cultural context in which we live, we find men and women exceptionally well informed. They retain extraordinary amounts of data, but at the same time, they are disoriented due to the absence of a narrative that helps them form criterion. The lack of this narrative impoverishes the symbolic plane in the lives of individuals and their relationships. Thus, we find that current communication is based on an individual disconnected and indifferent to their environment. Individualism focuses on the subject and renders them indifferent to human values. The productivity regime imposed by these ideologies isolates them and subjects them to a cruel competition. It is the competition of high performance and success which in the long run is merely a form of survival. The result of this framework is human fatigue and apathy caused by exposure to various ideologies, which annihilate all possibility of communication. The passivity in individuals diminishes the human relation skills and their contemplative capacity. Thus, humanity is reduced to a doing, where action and activity are blind to contemplative truth as a relational phenomenon. In other words, humans are so concerned with producing and competing that they are left adrift from their own achievements and technological advances, which keep them distant from themselves. Korzybski also highlights the disparity between the technological advancements achieved by humanity and the lack of progress in human beings and their interpersonal relations. To enable the dialogical connection and bonding among humans and in their relationships, the symbol is invoked. The notion of the symbol is explained in Plato's Symposium. It states that the symbol is half of something that aspires to unite with its other half, and upon finding the former unity, promises the fullness of being. In other terms, there is always a sender and a receiver, an image and a meaning. Symbols are means by which abstract ideas are communicated and transmitted to a recipient. The symbol represents concepts that impact perception of things and life. For example, language as a symbol immediately affects human perception and comprehension of the world, and thus influences behavior, human thought, and also communication. Symbols enable individuals to share and to understand meanings that transcend the individual experiences. Ultimately, symbols produce commonalities that enable a collective identity, united society in a abiding environment. In this sense, the symbol facilitates effective communication by offering a common point of reference. Human thought evolves, and thus we must recognize that symbols are representations that change over time. Korzybski emphasized the importance of revising and updating our symbols and concepts to better reflect our understanding of reality. Therefore, optimal communication will involve the effort to learn the language, the signs, and the symbols of the communities or generations. Through the use of symbols, people Through the use of symbols, people interpret, categorize, and organize their understanding of the world. Symbols are deeply rooted in specific cultural contexts and play a crucial role in shaping collective and individual identities as they structure knowledge and communication. In summary, the absolute lack of being reaches its zenith in the present, as everything that could provide meaning and direction to life is collapsing. A strong foundation is missing to support it. Hence, the importance of the function of the symbol, which goes beyond mere representation. Symbols are essential for understanding and interaction in the world of ideas. Knowledge of the world varies from person to person. The influence of the environment in which one develops, the exposure to ideological currents, and changes in representations over time lead us to a human being disconnected from him and from others. Then a deceleration of life is necessary. To achieve this, philosopher Byung-Chul Han proposes inactivity. In inactivity, life enters a contemplative mode and returns to its secret reason for being. Reclaiming space for contemplation could help us find a more authentic voice in a world saturated with information. In conclusion, awareness of the social cultural framework in which we live is crucial concerning symbols, since being fundamental tools in philosophical and everyday discourse, they allow us to represent, communicate, structure, and reflect on abstract meanings and concepts. Symbols speak to us about reality, despite the changes and novelties in them among life. Isn't it in reflection that we find clarity and meaning? A person who knows how to communicate realizes that only in inactivity we be able to discern that relational truth that prompts reflection. I invite you to find inactivity spaces in your life in order to be able to contemplate. Thank you.